ask pretty much anything.
Okay, so
I know, I'm like, it's just pure honesty. Go ahead, in the front.
Hi, Bridget.
Hi.
Do you have any basic guidelines for songwriting for anyone who hasn't wrote a song before?
Basic.
What do you look for?
What do I look for?
Yeah.
In a song, I look for space. And I say space like in a verse if I'm listening to, who has space? Who leaves space? A great writing example for me is John Mayer. He's one of my favorite songwriters, mainly because he'll say one or two things and then let the music breathe a little bit. So whatever he says kind of sinks in. I think space is really important. I think if you are, as a songwriter, concerned about saying over-telling the story or overthinking it, I think that you can get stuck in trying to like constantly come up with 18 words that rhyme with that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't focus on that. I would focus on saying one or two things, letting it breathe, and then get to the next line, and then let it breathe, and then just because I find that in general, when writing a song, or even in any kind of, it's applicable to life actually, songwriting. Anytime you feel like you're under pressure, that's the best thing to do, they tell you, is to just breathe. And I think that works for songwriting too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
who else?
Yeah.
Hey, so what have you found to be the most challenging aspect of being in the music industry, and what have you found to be the most exciting thing to be in the music industry?
The most challenging thing about being in the industry, I would have to say the most challenging thing for me is battling the superficial aspects of the industry. So I'm in that weird in-between generation where it's like I came up with MySpace, and when MySpace was like super important, but the artists that were out at that time that were the biggest had this like unattainable, inaccessible kind of aura about them, and now all the artists give you everything. There's no holds barred, no, everything is exposed, everything is oversaturated, and I'm kind of like caught in the middle because at the same time, you know, I'm not only, I hate the word competition, but I'll use competition for lack of a better word. I'm not only in competition with other women that can sing, but if I go into a label situation, I'm also in competition with the girls that have 1 million followers on Instagram, talent or no talent. Yeah. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge at this point is trying to overshadow that with what I feel is more substantial, which is my talent, as opposed to just being a pretty girl that has really great filters and angles. Yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge. Most exciting thing, though, I will say is getting the chance to still be a fan of other artists and music that comes out. I think that's really cool to meet artists or to meet new artists that are fans of mine. That's always awesome too. Somebody that, you know, maybe randomly I run into that's like, oh yeah, I remember you. That happened to me with Jasmine Sullivan. She was like, girl, I love your music. I was like, ah. I was like, you don't even know how that. Yeah, it was. Moments like that are probably the most exciting for me at this point, is having someone else who I admire my music as well. Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Talking about collaborations and being fans of people, I know that you kind of in a collective with like Ray James, Stacey Buff and Nick James, and they're all doing their own projects now. Would you do like a collab project with them?
We started a compilation project of like cover songs, and then we all kind of abandoned it, and I don't know if we'll revisit it, but we started doing like really cool 90s covers of like just older stuff, and then Luke James is now cast in the New Edition movie, and everybody's doing a bunch of different side projects. So I think if we do decide to collaborate, it'll probably be on each other's individual projects, and then see where it goes from there. But we did attempt to collab like a compilation, and it was like the 5 Heartbeats. It was a disaster, girl. We don't think we can get back to that.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Do you get worried if, say, your creative process takes like longer than usual? Do you think, oh no, I'm like all dried up, or do you think
every time
this is going to be a good song?
Every time I hit a wall probably once every like 3 months. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. I gotta just trash it and start again. But I try to just remind myself that it's okay. Like I have to just accept where I'm at in the process. And in the moment, sometimes I just gotta take a break and then revisit it later on. Like take an hour and just go outside and listen to something else or watch something else and then come back to it. especially when I'm writing a song, I have to do it that way. Otherwise, I get in my own head and it's like, well, what if I change this? And then if I start changing one or two things, and by the time I'm done, it's the whole song gone and I got to start again, which is even more frustrating. But I think it's scary to feel like you're not, what you're writing, not isn't current or trendy, but that it won't come across the same way, right? So when you think about like a special delivery, it's like, there is this possibility that's looming over my head sometimes that I may not have another record like Special Delivery where everyone is like, oh my God, that's the one. You know what I mean? But I try not to let that cloud my process about what I'm doing going forward. Especially because I think that I write music that is sort of timeless, I guess. Special Delivery is unfortunately not timeless because nobody is stamping mail in letters anymore. That's probably the only one that's not. But I think that the universal emotion in my records is what translates, and I find that as long as that's ever present, then whatever else that comes out of it will make sense to somebody, even if it's, 5 people. Yeah.
Hi,
Hey.
I think I come from a different perspective to everyone. I come from more of a market and branding perspective, but I do love you a lot because I love the way you align yourself. And
Thank you.
The woman over there mentioned Ro James, and he's like one of my favorite artists, but not a lot of people like know him. And when Luke James did Beyonce's concert, I was like the only one standing, and it just frustrates me because no one really respects good artistry, and you have such an amazing voice, and that should win. So when I heard about you no longer being with Jay, I was kind of like, from a market perspective and a consumer perspective, people might not be able to access you as easy. So like, I wanted to know how that, like kind of what happened, but how that made you feel and how that maybe would have affected your music a little bit if it did.
It definitely did. But I think it's all labels. The label, being signed to a label and being a part of that giant kind of machine, it has its limitations. You know what I mean? That you need permission to release things, and they want to see what it looks like and how it sounds, and they want it to. Everybody has a vision, so there's always a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? So when you are an artist and you're a part of that kind of a scenario, sometimes you got to roll with the punches, and I rolled with a lot of punches, and I got tired of it. And I think, because I built such a strong personal rapport with everybody there, it wasn't such a battle to leave. I think that we all kind of understood that it was like we're at the end of the rope kind of thing. My last project, Cut to Bridget Kelly, kind of got thrown out publicly, ran just on a whim. At the end of like 2013, probably just got thrown out just onto iTunes, Spotify, everything, and I was on like a random military tour, and I was in Afghanistan and had no Wi-Fi. I was running around with a helmet on, like I wasn't thinking about promoting projects, But I think it is unfortunate that a lot of artists don't get the platform that they should. But I think the real issue is that labels don't want to spend the time and the money and the energy to develop it. There's really no masterminds behind branding anymore. You come in a finished product to a label now. So I think that's really that system, that formula is how everybody operates, and it sucks because then the rest of us who maybe need a little bit of help in the branding department, or maybe don't know how to market ourselves, or maybe don't want to be naked on Instagram. It's hard to try and explore other things when no one else that's in the umbrella, so to speak, is open to it, or even presenting other suggestions. So I think for me it's disheartening, but it's not so painful that we just quit. I think it's really a matter of getting the good stuff out there. I think overall the quality will always shine through. The quality of a music will always shine. The quality of an artist will always shine. And if you are really that dope, you will find a way to tour and to, make something of it. But I think where being a part of Rock Nation was concerned, it was really timing. Me being a part of that label at that time worked very well for what it worked for. And I don't know that they had everything that I needed at the time that I really needed it. And then I kind of outgrew the situation for what it was for me personally. So I think, for every artist, it takes a while to get to that point. And I was also terrified to say anything and then have it be like, girl, go just get out. You know what I mean? And not be cool with anyone. And you still want to play the game, even though you want to be a rebel and you want to be, an artist and be creative. You still want to play the game a little bit because you don't want to piss everybody off, and then you're a jerk, and then, people in powerful positions can say crazy things about you, and then who knows? And you got to battle that in addition to try and build yourself up and get your career going without them. So I think I played it very well, and I think that for any artist that's approaching a label situation, the most important lesson I took away from that was to remember that it's a business and that everybody has their own separate interests at heart at all times. So regardless of whatever, personal friendships and connections you build with people, we're all in this to make some kind of money. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. So I think that's now going forward. What I take with me is that I'm in a business. I run a business. I'm a walking business. So I have to just always remember that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Anybody else?
I'm gonna be a bit greedy here.
That's fine. No worries. We're still here, girl. It's fine.
Any tips for live performances?
Sleep, water, wine. That's usually what I need in order to really give a good performance. But no, I think live performance is my favorite it's my favorite part of being an artist, because it's all in the moment. You leave it on the stage. So if I'm in a crazy mood, if I had a wild day, I just get up and it's like, okay, I'm putting it all out here and I'm leaving it up here. Whatever I say, whatever I feel in that moment is just gonna be out there.
How about nerves?
Oh, I'm always nervous. But here's the thing, everybody's nervous. Everybody who's really, really good is nervous. Beyonce is nervous. When she told me that, I was like, no, girl, nothing about this gives me nervous, nothing ever. But no, she said, she was like, I was get nervous every time before every single show. Luke James gets nervous. Luke has like sweaty palms. So backstage, he does a lot of he just does a lot of this. We all have our things that make us, okay, calm down, relax. But I think it's a good thing. It's a good to have nerves just means you care. You really, really care about what you're about to do. You care about your presentation of yourself. So it's a good sign. But I would say pray beforehand. I don't know if you're a prayer person, but pray beforehand. And, laugh. Try and crack some jokes and distract yourself a little bit from the nervous energy. Don't be by yourself. If I'm by myself in a room before a show, I start to panic. I'm freaking out. I'm like, could somebody come sit with me? Just talk to me for 5 minutes. Just before I gotta go somewhere, just talk to me. Just about anything. It doesn't matter. Sports, yeah, soccer, I don't know anything about it. Just talk. It's that kind of a thing where it's just, I like to have other good energy around me to kind of keep me from freaking out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm in the back. Hey.
2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
As a songwriter, is there any song you're like, oh, I wish I'd written that? And secondly, if you go back in time, is there anything you tell your 20-year-old self?
20-year-old self, I would probably just, I would tell myself to trust my intuition all the time. Because I think I let a lot of people that I thought knew better than me tell me how I was supposed to feel and what I was supposed to wear and how I was supposed to think and what I was supposed to sound like. And I think I was really malleable at that time. So I would tell myself to trust myself. If my gut instinct is like, go left, then just run left. Like there's a fire, run left. And if there was a song that I could say I wish I wrote, man, there's so many. I would say Flaws and All. Beyonce's Flaws and All is a song I wish I would have written, because that song just describes me to a T. And I would say John Mayer Gravity is another song that I wish I wrote, just because I feel like there's so many metaphors in that song. Just makes me feel like such a nerd. But it's such a deep record. So yeah, probably those 2 songs. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice?
Oh, I've got another question.
Got another question.
Are you going to be on reality TV or anything like that?
No. I had to emphasize to get really close and say no. I'm not going to be. No.
I mean, I'm not mad at it, but also sometimes I think, now I know you're crazy, and it kind of puts me off the music when I know somebody's crazy.
When you know somebody's bad shit and you're like, we probably would not be friends in real life, in fact, because you just threw a milkshake at your best friend in the mall. Right.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if that's what you've been doing.
No, reality, I thought about it. I did actually. I did consider it. I got approached. I've been approached a number of times for Love and Hip Hop, and I chuckle every time. But and that's no shade to Mona. That's my girl. But no, I could not. The problem is in those kinds of shows, right? And this goes back to my point about being an artist that exposes everything. All the things that you may still be grappling with and dealing with internally don't need to be on the TV screen. I think Keisha Cole was a really perfect example of that, because she had a lot of issues that she was working through and dealing with at the time with her family, and that was all on TV all the time. And I find that it's not her fault, but it made me really empathize with what her life is off the stage. But you're right, it distracts from the music. It distracts from the fact that I really love your performances, and I don't want to distract anybody from what it is I'm actually doing, by catching me, crying, eating a Krispy Kreme donut. I don't think that's fair to me or to anybody else. I think somebody over here raised their hand. You had that question, yeah.
How have you found it being like a woman in the industry? Has it been like positive or negative or?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both. I find that some women are threatened mainly because they're not around other women that aren't used to being normal and like unthreatened. Yeah. Like I come across women sometimes that don't know how to really they don't know how to just be, you know what I mean? And it's not against me. I know it's not against me. It's just like they've never been around other women that haven't sort of threatened them or been threatened by them. But I think for artists in general, I think most female artists have always been very warm with me. I haven't had any weird experiences with any female artists, thank God. I was scared. I was like, if I start meeting people and if I have had too much champagne, it could go very, very left very fast. And but I find that everyone has really been incredibly humble. I haven't met any female artist I don't think that I have been horrified by. Maybe once, but she was drunk and it doesn't even matter. But yeah, no, I think for the most part, women support each other in different ways. I think what's cool about the female empowerment thing now, even though it seems like everyone's jumping on the bandwagon now, like girl power, it's I think the positive thing behind it is that, especially in America, we have a woman that's running for president. So that in itself, there's so many different facets to getting women involved in projects, and not just with music, but with politics and with women's rights. I think that now there's other means of connecting rather than it just being, oh, we're supposed to be competitors, but we'll be friends. It's less about that and more about issues and causes, which I think is a better platform for women to connect on anyway. Yeah.
Hey, you spoke about just like how you've had interactions with women in the industry. What about men in the industry? How do you deal?
Let's just say I am just amazing at friend zoning and curving people because of this industry. No, I think that men, just in general, all across the board, I don't think it's just in the industry. I think just in life, period, men just have a system under which they operate with each other, and women don't necessarily fit into that, and that's okay. Where music is concerned, I think that for celebrity men, and I say that all across the board for athletes and musicians, they have access to so much all the time that it makes it really difficult for them to view women equally and view them with tremendous respect. And I mean, I fault men for how they treat women in this industry, but I also fault a lot of women for how they carry themselves in this industry. Mainly because, when you uphold a certain standard for yourself and you see other women out here being ratchet, it's kind of, there's more of a plethora of that than of in the public eye, at least, than of, really kind of stand up chicks. And so I think that makes it hard. That makes it hard to keep the respect consistent across the board. I think that there's been more occasions than not where I've been in a scenario or been in a room full of men in the industry who will look me up and down, not knowing who I am, and size me up just to kind of see if I'm someone they could approach and take try and shoot their shot, as opposed to, oh, I wonder what she does. I don't know. Most men don't do that with women. They look at they wonder if they have a chance or not.
Isn't that more to do with like men not treating women with respect than women?
It's both. It's definitely both, because I've been on tour and seen women that could care less about what they look like and how they come across and say whatever and do whatever just to be on the scene in the moment. And there's a lot of that, and that's very disheartening, because that makes it harder for the rest of us then who don't move that way. You know what I mean? To then enter a room where there may be other girls there that are just there to be there, just happy to be on the scene and be in that moment and have that look. And I'm there because I just got off stage. I'm here with a purpose, and you here because you're a beautiful girl. But I mean, just that in itself puts all of us under this beautiful girl umbrella, which again makes the more savage of the men come forth and try and see what they can get away with you, which is unfortunate. I think it's both. I think both parties are definitely at fault, and I think it's harder to set the standard for yourself around other women who A, may or may not protect you as a woman, and B, women who probably don't really know what their own boundaries are, so they're unpredictable. So it's a hard thing for women in the industry to come into a place and not feel a sense of connection. Like men, guys will oh, it's bros before hoes. Is that what guys always say? Girls don't have that code. So it's very, very hard to be in a room full of strange women and you don't know who's moving how and with who and how they got here and why, and that type of stuff. It makes it very, very difficult as a woman to be in an industry situation and be completely respected just off the rip. Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
When you've written for other artists, how's that process work in terms of getting your songs out to them? And have you found it difficult sort of having to part with some of your sort of work? Is it quite personal?
It depends. Sometimes when I write for other artists, it's very specific. So they'll send over an example or give you like a template of what they want it to sound like, and so you can kind of get a feel for what your task is, I guess. But there are songs I've written that we've shopped for different things that I'm kind of like, oh, please don't take that. I just don't take that. But I mean, I've gotten pretty lucky. The songs that there's a couple songs. One actually that I'm hoping doesn't get taken, but if she likes it, then she can have it. Is for an artist that I love, and so I think sometimes when that type of scenario happens, if I wrote a song and Beyonce called me like, hey girl, I need this song, if I was in love with it, I'd be like, here, but you just have it, Beyonce. You want 5 more? You want 5 more of these? Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of a thing. I'm a fan as well, so as to be able to write for other artists and be appreciated for that type of talent, I definitely would not pass up on that opportunity, however attached I would be. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi. Do you have anyone that you consider to be a mentor, maybe inside or out of the industry, or anyone that's really guided you through your career?
I never really had a mentor in my career. Sadly, I find that it's harder to find someone who's interested in mentoring, and that's across the board. That's men and women. Just in the music industry, period. Everybody seems to be. It's like the plague. Nobody wants to take anybody under their wing and really show them the ropes, which is kind of sad. And I think, if I had a mentor, maybe a number of things would have gone differently. But I think as far as having influence, I think my mom is probably my biggest influence, and so that's probably the best I could say. Thanks, Mom. She was like, wait, what? No, I think I had a really strong foundation, and that kind of kept me out of a lot of shitty situations where things probably could have been a lot worse. So that's probably the best that I had for mentorship. But I would at some point be happy to mentor someone once I get to a place where I'm really like at the top of my game. Oh, you know what though? I will say someone that has given me good advice though that I got to spend some time with was Mary J. Blige. I opened up on tour for her, and she's like one of these really spiritual, like low-key people. We all know her story in the background and how tumultuous her 20s was, and making all those incredible albums. She's now just like the most well-grounded, just peaceful person you could ever possibly meet. And so she feels your energy right away. You could walk into a room and she'll immediately pick up and say, what happened to you today? Somebody called you with something you didn't like, and you're like, oh my God, did you know that? Like she just has this incredible intensity about her, but just compassion and empathy. And I think that that's something that I hope that I can transfer to someone else when the time comes. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of co-writing?
Yeah, I love co-writing. Co-writing is actually more fun for me than writing by myself. Just because I talk too much in general. So it gives me someone to talk to. I'm like, hey girl. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My band agrees I talk way too much. I like to sit down and kind of exchange ideas. I think songs are conversations. They're always a conversation. And sometimes you'll be writing from a perspective that's only from your one side. And if you haven't explored enough in your own head and in your own mind how to get to the next step, I think it's great to have someone to kind of bounce ideas off of, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Very good. Any more questions? Go ahead.
One more.
From a guy. Family or music? Which, if you had to pick your family?
Nope. Not picking.
I haven't finished my question.
Sorry, that was such a woman thing to do to a guy. No. The answer is no, whatever it is. Sorry.
So I know like you have spoken that you come to your 30s, some of your friends are having kids.
Mm-hmm.
So does it ever make you feel like you have to accelerate to try and get to where you need to go? Do you feel the clock's ticking for your career and also for a family situation?
No, because I am really tired of paying for everyone else's life choices. Diapers, planning baby showers, weddings, everyone's getting married, we gotta buy dresses for the weddings, and we gotta do, it's expensive. No, I don't wanna do that. I don't wanna buy diapers, I wanna buy shoes. I don't feel pressured, in fact, to have babies. But I will say that being able to move and tour and do different things without any attachments has definitely been amazing. And I don't know if I could do it if I had a husband and kids. I don't think I would want to do it if I had that. But I will say that I get to bring my mom on tour, so technically family and music are hand in hand right now. So we're gonna just keep going on that. We're gonna go with that as long as we can.
Okay. Have you got any advice? I know there's a few up and coming singers, songwriters in here that would like to have a bit more of a directional pull. Have you got any advice for them in their journey?
Don't do what everyone else is doing. Number one, don't feel pressure to do what everyone else is doing, because you'll always be a slave to that process of trying to figure out what you think or what everybody else thinks is hot. And I would also say to really be firm in who you are and to trust your instincts. I wish somebody at 20 would have shook me and been like, girl, you know better about yourself than anybody else. You know yourself better than anyone else. And if you don't know yourself better than anybody else, then get to know yourself before you insert yourself into a situation where somebody else is going to try and be like, no, this is you instead. Definitely let your clay dry before you try and, be molded by someone else. You got to be molded all by yourself. So know who you are. And, that's a journey. It's a never-ending journey, by the way. You never just wake up one day like, ha, eureka, I'm complete. Doesn't work that way. But know enough about your sound and what you bring to the table and what makes you different, because you're going to get approached with the question, who are you? Who are you? I hate when people ask me, who are you, Bridget Kelly? I'm just like, girl. Right, today, I'm an Aries. I like pizza. I like beer. I like tequila in the summer. Like, things like that. The questions are always really, really annoying to answer, but they are really important. Like, for yourself, to know who you are at your core is really, really important. And as soon as you can stand firm in that, and that's your foundation, you're an immovable force.
And to keep yourself grounded, is there anything that you do like on a daily basis? Like, do you have any daily mantras that you go by?
I wish I did. I think, I ran a half marathon like 2 years ago, and I did it mainly because I had just left the label and I got out of like a long relationship and then fired my management team, and I was like, well, I can either become really, really skinny and fit, or I can become an alcoholic. And it was tough. It was a tough choice, I promise. But I ended up training for a half marathon, and we had to do that. Nike sponsored me to do it. It was myself and El Varner. We did it together, and we had to sit down in a room and write down all the things that we thought about that made us feel strong, right? And different mantras. And my mantra for the race was all or nothing. And I actually ended up getting it tattooed on my arm because in my life at that time, everything was so tumultuous. Everything's all over the place. I don't know if I'm gonna pay rent this month. I don't know if I'm gonna record anything. I don't want to. It was just it was a crazy time for me personally, and I felt like I needed something to keep me solid and stable. And I realized that in the midst of all of that training and preparation for the race, I couldn't cheat the run. Like I could have a show or be doing a session until 3 o'clock in the morning, but if my training schedule said I had to run 8 miles the next day, I had to run 8 miles the next day. So I was on a disciplined regimen, and I found that, you know, that was probably the safest way to be okay, and or maybe not the safest route, but definitely the most successful route to keeping myself grounded was to approach everything with an all or nothing idea. Like don't cheat yourself. Because you'll know when you cheat yourself. You'll know when you don't do your best. You'll know when you don't work as hard as you know you could. And if you feel like shit, if you don't, you will. And you'll look back later and be like, well, I wonder if I would have done. And I'm not a person with regrets. I don't believe in them. I thought I had them, and then I grew out of them. And I think that happens to everybody. I think at some point you find yourself in a situation where you look back and you want to be able to say that you really did give it your best, because then what can you say at that point? Once you say you gave it your all, then you did absolutely everything you could. So you got to leave it there. So that's probably my mantra. Yeah.
I'm actually running a half marathon in October. I'm so scared.
Why?
I don't even run for the bus.
Only thing I run is late. Right. Yes.
Like, do you have any, like, what were your training tips, and how did you keep yourself
so hard.
regimented?
So hard. Well, just Nike, I cheated a little because Nike gave me a whole system. They were like, well, this is 6 miles, this is 8 miles. So I'd be like, okay, we can do Taco Tuesday on this day. And then I'll do Soul Cycle the next day. No, I was on a very strict regimen, but I think what kept me going was playlists. Okay. I made a lot of playlists ahead of time. Yeah, it was a lot of Rihanna on those a lot of Rihanna, Beyonce, Jay-Z. Yeah, it was a lot of that. It's a lot of Kanye. Yeah, on repeat. Just to kind of keep me motivated and keep the pace going. I think the music definitely helped, but I also started hanging out with people that were also in the same kind of mindset that I was in. So that, you know, if you're out with somebody who does not want to go to the gym the next day, they'll have you out till 6 a.m. and not think twice. They're like, yeah, girl, it's fine. You're like, no, you're not going to be shooting with me in the gym in 2 hours. It's not fine. You gotta surround yourself with other people that are like-minded, so that you don't feel like you're sacrificing. It doesn't feel like it only feels like a sacrifice if you think you're missing out on something. So if you're around other people that are doing the same thing that you're doing and they're about that life, you're not missing out on anything. Because then you're both looking at each other, nudging each other like, yo, you just get ginger ale tonight. Don't go wild out. Don't wild out.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's been amazing having you here. Of course. ADTV.
I know. Well, thank you guys for having me. Thanks for staying so late too. I know it's Friday. I know y'all trying to go out. Somewhere everybody's trying to turn up.
Well, thank you again, and thanks to the band. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, band.
So we're gonna have a quick picture session outside. Yeah, sure.
No, we're gonna have it here because there's guys watching football outside, so we're gonna have the pictures here.
Oh, okay. There's a football man who's playing.
It's the Euros. So it's France versus Romania.
I don't know. I asked just to be, Listen, though, I will say America is getting hip to football. Mm-hmm. We just you can go to a sports bar now, and it'll be American, it'll be baseball, and then they'll have like a soccer match on the screen.
Like American soccer or like British football?
Well, British.
No. Soccer is
British football.
Right, okay, this is
sorry. Football in America is like rugby, but it's a lot. It's with pads and helmets, and it's a lot more. I don't know if it's more violent, but no, it's intense. It's intense, but I don't know. Do people ever die from rugby?
I don't know, but their ears get funny, didn't they?
They get injured.
They get injured a lot. Yeah, American football too. They get injured all the time. You know what? Rugby players' bodies? American football could be a little sloppy. Like they got a lot of pads on them and they take it off and it's soft underneath. Rugby? No. I've seen some rugby players. They look like guys from 300. They do.
Oh my gosh! Thank you so much.
American guys are just.
We have big hands.